Good morning. I'm Jeff Patten, and I'm a career counselor here at UTSA with over 12 years of experience helping clients write effective resumes. I'm going to cover in this presentation what employers are looking for, how to decipher a position description, how to tailor your resume to a specific position using keywords and action verbs, preparing for the job search, executing a well-organized search, and developing networking skills. So it's a little more than just talking about resumes. It's really talking about the job search and how to use your resume to find the position you're looking for. So let's start out by talking about qualities that employers are looking for. These qualities are things that we've gotten from NACE, which is the National Association of Colleges and Employers. Basically, employers are telling universities, we want your graduates to have these things. And the truth is, irrespective of the work you do, all employers are looking for these qualities in their applicants. So they want good communication and interpersonal skills. So both oral and written communication skills, skills working with other people, intelligence, analytical skills. This is about problem solving, being able to look at a problem and come up with potential solutions. Enthusiasm, that you have some energy and excitement about the work that you do. Flexibility, I tell students all the time, a job will not look the same when you leave it as it did when you started, because you will change the job and the job will change you. The more flexibility you have, the more opportunities are coming your way. So you want to be able to demonstrate that flexibility to an employer. Leadership skills. There are those who seek out leadership. There are those who may have leadership thrust upon them. But the basic idea here is leadership isn't about power or control. Leadership is about being able to take a group of people and accomplish a task. So you want to be able to demonstrate how you've been able to do that. Energy, initiative, motivation, this is about not just doing the job, but getting in and looking at how you can improve what's going on. Again, what are the things that you can do to make the workplace and the organization better? Maturity, this is about being able to take responsibility for your actions for getting the job done. Self-confidence, I always tell students, I joke about this. When I was a kid, my father used to say, get in there and pretend like you knew what you were doing. This is about knowing and being confident in what you know and getting in there and doing the job. So demonstrating that self-confidence, not in an arrogant way, but in a way that demonstrates to an employer, yeah, I know this, I can do these things, and here's how I've done it. Last but not least, humility and an appropriate sense of humor. Appropriate's the key word here. I think it's important to be able to laugh at ourselves. All of us make mistakes. The point is you have to be able to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and laugh about what happened. So you want to have some humility, and you may be an expert, but let the work you've done demonstrate that to your employer. So give them a clear idea of here's how I have put my content knowledge, my skill sets, and my experience to work. So here's what you bring to the table. Your education and training, whether you have a degree or you don't, you have learned things over the course of your work experience. So being able to take the things that you know and apply them is what experience is all about, okay? We talk about relevant experience. The idea here is you need to be able to demonstrate to an employer, here are the things I've done that will make me a productive employee for you. Specific skill sets. So software you know, equipment you've used, languages, tools, procedures. The idea here is, again, being able to take the skills that you've got and show how you can engage them to get this job done. Interests and projects. Maybe there are other things you've worked on. Maybe it's volunteer work or community involvement, but being able to show, again, keyword, relevant interests that relate to the job. Last but not least, personal characteristics. Things like perseverance, taking initiative, things that set you apart, okay? The key thing about a resume is it needs to give clear information that show you meet the qualifications the employer is looking for, but it's also about what makes you unique. And I tell students there has to be that little hook there. It's like you want to give them enough information so that they're saying, yeah, you've got what we're looking for, but you also want to leave them wanting more. It's like, this person is interesting. We want to talk to them, because that's what moves you from resume to interview. So prepare yourself. And this is really important. Finding a job is a process. It takes time. And it's easy to get frustrated. The best way not to be frustrated is to approach it as a process. So set realistic timelines and goals. Know what the deadlines are, the closing date for positions. Make sure you've got your materials in order. Be clear about what it is you're looking for and what's going to get you there. Develop a professional vocabulary. Again, I tell students, often there are different ways to talk about things. I work with engineering students, and there are different technologies out there. I always tell them, use the language that the employer uses. So if there's more than one way to talk about it, make sure you're using their language. Develop your search parameters. Are you trying to stay here in San Antonio? Are you looking farther afield, Bexar County? Are you looking elsewhere in Texas? Are you looking elsewhere in the country? So the idea here is be clear about where your limits are. And again, if something's going to add an extra hour to a commute to do the job, are you willing to do that? You want to then prepare your resume and your cover letter. And one of my colleagues, Adrian Ramirez, is going to talk to you about cover letters. But the idea here is these are your marketing tools for making connections with potential employment opportunities. So focus your search, research positions. Networking is really crucial. Why do I say that? Networking is still the #1 way people find jobs, okay? According to the Bureau of Labor, it's close to 80% of people find jobs through networking. So especially now with COVID-19, we want to think about, how do I network if I'm basically socially distancing myself? And so you want to think about tools you can use to do that. You want to attend fairs, virtual and in person if possible. Virtual fairs are going on all the time, so you want to keep your eyes open for those things. Again, this is a way to network and make connections. There are other ways to network. I encourage my students, look at setting up a LinkedIn profile, because this is another networking tool. It's not the be-all, end-all of things, but it is a tool that can help you network and find opportunities. You then submit your applications. You want to practice interviewing, and then you interview. The idea here is you want to think of this as a package. A resume is a very important part of that, but it's only one part of finding that job. So to prepare an effective resume, you need to think about what the employer is asking for in the position description. A resume is not a laundry list. It's not every job you've ever had. It's specific information that demonstrates how you fit this opportunity, okay? It needs to be focused, it needs to be organized, and it needs to be appropriate to the position, okay? I'm lazy, I will admit that. I have students, I've told them, I'm lazy, I understand sometimes that you are. Have a master document that you've put everything in, but anytime you're applying for a specific position, edit it down to demonstrate how you fit that position. The reason here is the typical resume gets looked at for about 60 seconds. I used to tell students that they had a minute. I had one recruiter tell me 60, I give it 6. They're looking for very specific information in a short order. If they don't find it, they're on to the next resume. So you need to tailor your information to the opportunity. Don't just list the positions you've held. Tell me about what you did and how you did it, okay? Again, I work with engineers, and I tell them, think of this in terms of variables, okay? Using software X And equipment Y accomplished task Z. So you want to demonstrate when you're talking about what you've done and how you've done it, the task you actually accomplished. Past performance is the best predictor of future performance. So if you can show that to an employer, they're going to have a good idea of what you're capable of doing for them. Now we tell students at bachelor's level, single page, one-sided. If you have an advanced degree, if you have more experience, more than one page for a resume is permissible. But key question, is it relevant? If the information is not relevant to the position, it doesn't belong in the document. This is about learning to edit yourself. I'm big on metaphors. I tell students that your resume is a snapshot. Now in a snapshot, I can't have a full-on shot and a three-quarter shot and a profile shot in the same picture. Each of those is me, but not each of those tells the reader what they want to know. So make sure you're tailoring the information to the position description. Okay, it should be in a single consistent font, something that's clean and easy to read, and it's in reverse chronological order. What that means is most recent first. So you go from most recent to least recent. This is true both for your education and your work experience. Okay, moving along. As far as your format is concerned, your layout, your heading needs to be large and bold. This is your contact information. Your name should be at least as large and bold as any other heading on the page. Now, we're going to talk a little bit later about objective, but I tell students if you're going to put an objective on your resume, and it's your choice, okay, it is a single sentence. It should be, I'm looking for this type of position. The idea here is the objective serves you well because it gives a focus to your document. What do I mean by that? Well, if you're saying this is the position I'm looking for, then everything that follows should go back to support how you're qualified for that opportunity. So it helps you to focus the information. Again, you do not have to print an objective on your resume, but it's a good idea to start with one. I tell students that an objective is to a resume what a thesis statement is to an essay. It's your purpose for putting the document together. Next, education. So if you have a specific degree, licensure, certification, you want to tell the employer that. Depending on the position and your background, the next things are going to be either skills or experience. Again, I work with engineers. Typically, most employers, the first thing they want to know is software you know, equipment you've used, tools. So you want to front load that information. Do not make the reader of the document wait until the end to find out what's most important to them. How do you know what's most important to them? It's probably some of the first things in the position description, okay? They're going to tell you these are essential things. These are a bonus if you have them. In other words, we have required qualifications and preferred qualifications. If they're required, you need to make sure that you meet those, okay? There are any number of other categories that can go into a resume, but keyword, relevance. How is this information relevant to the opportunity? So there are 4 essential things that have to go in the resume: your contact information, your education, and I generally tell students without the degree, they're not going to talk to you. So if there's a specific licensure or certification, you want to let them know that. Next, it's either going to be experience or skills. Those are the 4 things that have to go into a resume. Other things can. Professional associations you belong to, other information, again, that's relevant to the position. Okay, moving along. So tips for putting your resume together. This is a marketing piece. You are marketing content knowledge. What do you know? Skill sets, again, software, tools, equipment, languages, processes you know how to use, and what you're able to accomplish with those. The typical employer, again, 30 to 60 seconds. So keep it to a single page where possible. Give them the highlights. Again, I'm big on metaphors. I talked about the snapshot. The idea here is in a snapshot, we all have pictures of ourselves we like and pictures we're not so keen on. What's the picture you want to present to this employer? So the idea here is you get to decide the content of this snapshot. You get to decide what information gets foregrounded and what gets backgrounded by the headings that you use. So make sure, again, they're telling the best information you have that shows how you fit the position. So give them the highlights, not the whole story. The other metaphor that I like to use is your resume is an appetizer. It's enough to whet their appetite, to pique their interest, say, oh, this person's interesting. We want to know more. Because again, that's what moves you from resume to interview. Okay? I encourage people, have an answering machine or voicemail with a professional sounding message, okay? Nothing obscene, nothing, again, inappropriate or humorous. You want to be taken seriously in terms of the position, so make sure that your voicemail and your email addresses reflect that. And objective. I talked a little bit about this earlier, but it is recommended for clarification. You don't have to print it on the resume, but it should be specific for each position. I spent most of my adult life working in higher education. Universities and even community colleges list the position title and position number, and you want to make sure those get on every piece of correspondence. It's a good idea, especially if you're applying for large organizations where they may have multiple divisions with similar positions across different divisions, that the information gets to the right person. So it's not a bad idea to say the position title, position number in your resume and in any correspondence. It tells the employer basically what it is you're looking for and what you have to offer them. So your education, if you have any certifications, licensures, or special training, again, second language knowledge, where you can talk about your fluency, you can talk about being a native speaker. There are different ways to define this, but give them a clear idea of this skill that you have. Software or equipment skills, processes you know. You don't need to list specific coursework unless it's unique. In other words, I took this, most people don't, or this is something that would be an added bonus for this position, again, relevance. But you want to list your degree, assuming you have one. Formatting. Okay, I tell students constantly, formatting is the most personal aspect of the resume. Why? This resume represents you, okay? You want a format that you're comfortable with, that you think looks good and represents you well, okay? And with categories that fit your experience. So you want to emphasize those things that demonstrate how you're a good fit for this opportunity. So show them what you want them to know about you. Formatting is important. Key thing here is it needs to be clean and easy to read, okay? You don't need to include personal information. It's great that you're in excellent health. As an employer, I may expect that. Do not put anything in there that you wouldn't be willing to talk with them about in the interim. At least, don't use a template. There are lots of resume templates out there, and here's why they're a bad idea. A resume is a living document. As you add new knowledge, new skills, new experience, your resume needs to reflect that. It needs to be updated on a regular basis. The point is, with many templates, when you go in and try and change things, all of a sudden it changes the formatting. So I recommend highly, go in, use Word, create the document, set your own tabs and margins so you have control over the formatting as you move forward. It's so much easier. You can save it as a PDF so that it doesn't change. You can do other things. But the point is, templates generally don't serve you well. Now here's a sample. And again, this is laid out for students, so they have their education at the top. If you've been working in the field for a while, you may have your education further down the page. You may have experience first or skills first. But the idea here is, whatever the employer is requiring for the job, the first things they're listing are the first things you need to let them know. Notice, again, on the left-hand side, we have a column of information telling you about how to put this together. But the idea here is what you're seeing on the right-hand side is basically what your resume should look like. You can right justify, left justify, it's up to you. You can have it center justified. but make sure that it's clean and easy to read and that the information is quick and easy to grasp. We recommend, again, under a heading, so experience. You can see we've got 3 bullet points there. Bullet points end up being that quick bite of information that translates quickly to the reader. So this is where using keywords and action verbs are going to serve you well. So let's move along. Here's a list of action verbs. We have some for leadership, communication, technical skills, teaching, research and science, financial skills. These are words that can help you as you're crafting your resume. Reason being, you don't want to keep using the same verb over and over again. So if we're talking about leadership, authorized, arranged, the idea here is by using different verbs, we're showing our vocabulary and our intelligence to the employer. We're also demonstrating we can communicate clearly and concisely. We have lots of resources out there. I encourage you get to know the resources that are available. Professional associations are a great way to network. Again, networking, #1 way people find jobs. So take time to look and see what's out there. LinkedIn is another way to, again, network and make connections. You can use your LinkedIn account to connect to professional organizations. Take time to network. Take advantage of virtual fairs that are out there and look for both online and in-print resources. Now, I want to talk to you briefly about getting from the interview to from the resume rather to the interview. And the networking piece, we talk about your 60-second commercial, your elevator pitch. This is where you connect with an employer and you tell them a little bit about yourself. Crucial thing here is you want to practice, you want to get comfortable taking a minute and talking a little bit about yourself. Hi, my name's Jeff Patten, and I'm interested in this position your organization is listed. I've done a little bit of research about your organization and this opportunity. Here's why I think I would be a good candidate for this. So tell them a little bit about yourself and your interest in their organization. Then give them a little bit of time to tell you a little bit about who they are and what they do. The whole idea here is this is about making those connections that can help you in terms of your job search. Now, I want to stop here for a second. I talked to you a little bit about keywords and action verbs, and I showed you a list of action verbs. I didn't really talk about keywords, so I want to stop for just a second and get that information to you. Keywords are terms that you're going to see in a position description that convey more information than the word itself. Again, I work with engineers, so I use the example of AutoCAD, okay? AutoCAD's a keyword. Why? AutoCAD's a software program. But here are all the different things you can do using AutoCAD, okay? So by using that term, you're demonstrating more information about what you can do for that employer. Let me put this in a different realm. You may have heard the term palliative care. Now, if you're not in the healthcare industry, you may not know what that means. What I tell students is someone who has a terminal illness or end-of-life issues, I can treat their symptoms, I can make them comfortable, I can improve their quality of life, I'm not going to cure them. That's palliative care. So those two words tell me all that information. Learning to identify keywords in a position description is really key to understanding what it is the employer is looking for. And you want to mirror that language in your resume, okay? This is really crucial. More and more employers are requiring that you submit your documents electronically, okay? And they have automatic tracking systems. They have software searching for those keywords. They don't show up in your document. It doesn't go in the short stack. It may not be seen by human eyes at all because a computer may kick it out before it gets to an actual human being. So the idea here is when you're reading a position description, you want to learn how to identify those keywords. So how do you do that? Again, I work with engineers. Engineering is replete with jargon. Those terms are probably keywords. So learning to identify, this is about developing that professional vocabulary. Learning to identify those words and making sure that you're including those words in your document are really key. Okay, moving along. A little bit more about networking. This is about discovering connections, utilizing those connections to find opportunities. Again, making connections with people in your industry where they may not have a job, but maybe they know someone else who's searching for someone with your content knowledge, skill sets, and experience. It's constantly happening, okay? You may run into someone in the grocery line at H-E-B and talk with them and find out, again, some information. It's something that you want to think about is, again, how am I connecting to potential opportunities that are out there? So it's basic awareness, and it's a sharing process. It's not just you trying to find information. It's also about you sharing information with others. It is a win-win strategy. In other words, everyone benefits from this. And it's the #1 job search strategy. Networking is not using other people for personal gain. Okay, it's not working a room. It's not schmoozing with other people with the idea of what you get out of it. It's about sharing. So it really needs to be mutual in terms of the benefit that it provides. So it's not faking interest in something. It's being genuine and showing, again, what you have to offer to others as well as what you hope to gain from an opportunity. It's not a win-lose situation. So it's not you winning and other people losing. It really is about everyone benefiting. And it's not just going to happen. You have to make a concerted effort to do this. This may be especially true if you're a little introverted. You need to learn to engage with others, and that may be a struggle. But starting to network can really be helpful in terms of finding opportunities that you may be interested in. Why bother? Again, this is a way to learn interviewing skills and to connect with others, to gain support for your job or career-related experience search, to get leads on potential positions. It's a way to gather information that might not be out there in print or online. In other words, there may be information that individuals have that you're not going to see specifically in terms of position descriptions. And it's a way to develop relationships with people that you might work with in the future, whether as a coworker or in a supervisory employee situation. Now, one last tip that I want to give you before I close, and that is for interviewing. Now, again, this applies both to your resume and the interviewing process. So we talk about using the STAR method, and it's nothing exotic. But when you get into an interview situation and you're asked a question, you want to be able to give concrete examples of what you've done. So no one likes those situational or behavioral questions. They challenge us, but you want to rise to the challenge. So tell me about a time when. Give me an example of. Using the STAR method allows you to be both complete in your answer and concise. So the idea here is you want to tell about a situation, the task at hand, the action you took, and what the result was. So situation, task, action, result, STAR. I would suggest that in putting together your bullets under your experience, you want to reflect on this. You may not need to tell me about the situation, although you already have because you're telling me about the position you held and who your employer was. So that was the situation. The task is what you actually did. So this is the task. Here's how I did it. Again, think in terms of those variables. Software, tools, equipment you've used, task you accomplished. And again, what the result was. So the idea here is this can help you in crafting your resume. It can also assist you when you get into that interview situation. So you want to have thought about this in advance. What are the kinds of questions they might ask? You can glean a lot of information from the position description in terms of what are the things they want and how do I demonstrate I've got that. So think about past experience and how you would discuss that, how you would talk about that, because past experience is the best predictor of future performance. So you're telling an employer, I've done these things, therefore I can do these things for you. All right, I want to thank you for your time today and for your attention. I hope this has been useful. And if you find it so, please make use of the other badges that are available to you on the site. In order to earn a badge for this session, you will need to use the instructions given to create a draft resume and submit it online to Career in Focus according to their instructions. Thank you.